All right, welcome everyone back to Bust Up Boys and our weekly quotation marks updates. I'm Zach,
And I'm Zahran.
and updates. We're now on Spotify, so I'll drop a link in the YouTube video. You'll see it on social, but we're making it easier for you to listen to Bust Up Boys. So now, when you're doing chores or on the way to work, you can jam out and listen to what we're talking about.
Yep. I think we started on YouTube just because it's natural that way, but we realized to reach more viewers, it'll be nicer and more convenient for them to just have an audio only version. So cool. All right.
Exactly.
So I think we're going to be first off starting with news. So let's see. The first thing we got on our docket is the Superman costume reveal. Zach, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, so James Gunn, the director, I assume of Superman, posted this on social media a couple days ago, and I'll let you like dig deeper in it since I think you're the deeper like Superman fan. But I mean, I liked what I saw. I mean, I thought Henry Cavill was like a really good looking Superman, so I
Yeah.
was wondering if they could top that. But this is looking promising so far. Zron, how do you feel?
So for me, I really loved Man of Steel. I know that's a very like controversial opinion. I'm not a
Hot take.
huge like Zack Snyder fan. Just
Yeah.
putting it out there because Rebel Moon was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in a while.
Mhm.
But outside of that, like Man of Steel was pretty great. I liked his rendition. It's different, like yeah, it's not super hopeful. It's a very I wouldn't say realistic, but I guess a very, sad kind of Superman. So I think what James Gunn is tackling in this one is a little more happier one, like a little more cheerful, a little bit more of that hope that we haven't seen from the Zack Snyderverse Superman. But Henry Cavill at the time was brilliant at what he did. Like, he looked great, showed the action. And I think you could start seeing near the end of at least the Zack Snyder Justice League movie where he was becoming a little more hopeful, a little more happy. That's something that was missing, and I think this movie, I hope, exemplifies that. So the costume in general, I really don't care. To be honest, I think it'll look
Yeah.
better, with effects and everything like that. I think he said he just did like camera work and everything like that. Like for me, everything lives and dies by the writing, and James Gunn has never disappointed me since even the Scooby Doo days. And he knows how to write characters, right? He knows how to write characters. So I think he's going to do it justice. The new actor he looks like Superman, and he got a little
Yeah.
curl. So that was cool. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. I think costume wise, it's fine. It's not crapping on anything at the end of the day. I know some people are going to feel weird about the trunks, but we'll see later in different angles how it looks. But yeah, I think it's just going to live and die by the writing and direction for me personally.
Totally. And then let's see. So the Henry Cavill Superman was 3 movies. It was Man of Steel and 2 Justice League movies. Is that right?
Man of Steel, Batman
Yeah.
versus Superman, and I
Right.
guess technically 2 Justice League movies because
Okay.
he
Oh
was
yeah. There's two
because
more.
there's that Joss Whedon one which people should not watch, and then there's
Fair.
the Zack Snyder one which was actually decent. I liked it. I didn't. It's not the best movie in the world, but if you watch it in like 4 parts, it's actually pretty good, like an episodic. And I think they did have like different chapters in there.
Yeah, we're overdue for like some really super high quality Superman. So
Yep.
like I hope it's good. I know the biggest complaint with Superman is like he's like too powerful as a super like hero, right? So like, the kryptonite is there, but otherwise it's harder to create a story since he's so OP.
Yep.
But I don't know, hopefully they can craft something interesting for this movie.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are saying like comparisons to Homelander's costume, which is really funny because I think the
Right.
new season is gonna come out like in a couple of weeks. I'm rewatching it, as you can tell. Yeah.
Yeah. There should be a
um,
Homelander versus Superman movie. That would be actually super interesting.
yeah, that would be actually pretty cool. And I think that's the hardest part about any Superman movie is because he's so OP. It's really hard to write stories. So that's why like exploring his personal connections is what does like Superman better. Just a quick recommendation. I think My Adventures with Superman is pretty great on HBO Max, Adult Swim / HBO Max.
Cool.
They really explore it, and like that happy-go-lucky Superman people are looking for. I think that's where you'll see it. Um, Though, you know what? Honestly, a lot of people go like, "Oh, Zack Snyder's thing is a little too serious," but I feel like everyone's quintessential version of Superman they pictured outside of Christopher Reeve, obviously, was the animated series from like the 90s. And in
Yeah.
there, he was very like, he always had this like scowl, you know, like that Bruce Timm look with him.
Mhm.
So I mean, people can have different iterations. Like I'm fine with it. I'm not married to like, oh, Superman has to be this way. For me, if they write it well, that's all that matters.
Nice. No, that makes a lot of sense. Next piece of news. I got some, but you can go next if you want to.
I think you can go. I have to actually pull my thing out because I
No
want.
worries. Yeah, yeah. I'll jump ahead a little bit. So the Ringer came up with top 35 under 35. Guess who was number one?
Male or female?
And feel free to talk it out. So it's called top 35 actors, but it's male and female.
Male. Okay, so let's say male, Timothy Chalamet.
Okay.
Female.
So the list is just one list,
Okay.
but okay, I'll give it to you. The top ranking man is Timothy Chalamet. That's right.
All right. Nice. Yeah. Female. Okay, this one's harder because there's.
Yeah.
Is Margot Robbie under 35?
She's 34. Oh wait. Yes, she is.
Okay.
34.
That makes it even harder, actually.
Yeah. So next time I do this list, I'm just double checking. I don't think that she'll be on the list. She's actually 33. Born July 1990.
33. Oh wow. Okay.
So she's like right at the border.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. She's not that old. In my head, she's like a lot older, but
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Surprised by that. So I would say on the female side, actor side, it would be either. Okay, so my short list is Margot Robbie, Zendaya, and Sydney Sweeney. So out of those three, I think I got to give it to Margot.
That is a really good guess, and you almost had it. So Margot is actually the top a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And basically they point out the top three is kind of fluid, and you can make arguments for whoever. But yeah, maybe number one is Zendaya.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So quickly, I'll jump into my challengers review. So I saw challengers of the weekend. If you're a tennis fan, if you're just a young actors fan, if you're just like between the ages of 20 and 35, you should definitely go see this movie. It's a lot of fun, pretty fast moving love triangle, and has really great upbeat music from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. They're the ones who did the Social Network theme. So, it's like some pretty catchy tunes going on in the background. Zendaya does a good job. The two male leads also do pretty good. And so definitely recommend it. It's a fun summer movie.
Oh, you just got me with the whole, I didn't know Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross did it. I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. So.
Oh, amazing. Nice. Yeah, then you should definitely go see this.
You mentioned the soundtrack. You mentioned it to me. And I just figured, it has some nice tunes to it. I did not know the score was made by them. So that just shot it up in my have to watch list.
Yeah. And I love the Social Network soundtrack. And so then before I saw the movie, I listened to like this movie soundtrack and I was like, oh, this is okay. Then I saw the movie and there's like one motif for like the tennis matches. And after seeing the movie, now I get so amped up whenever I hear that song and that motif come up. So nice. It's a good pairing between the two.
Would you say this might have Oscar nominations in the future? Or
ooh, it's a possibility. I feel like this is a little bit more like a popcorn movie than like an Oscar movie, if that makes sense. This reminds me of like those really smart like 90s movies that were there to make a lot of money and then sometimes got Oscars praise, sometimes didn't. But yeah, I think it's a possibility. Well, I think at the very least, I think Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross could get a nomination. Acting like it could happen, that'd be cool. I think again, it's more about just making a slick, fun movie as opposed to like super serious drama. Yeah, so it's hard for me to see like a winner coming out of it. Maybe some nominations. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, maybe Zendaya gets some nominations. Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah, I would totally support that. I hope the Academy sees it that way.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. All righty. One thing I wanted to do also in terms of news is talk. I'm really big into like the box office numbers. So this weekend, the number one film was Fall Guy, which made 27 mil. But guess what was number two?
I I'm not too sure. What's number two?
Um, it's
Or can
not
you
the
give me
movie
hints?
you just
Can
saw.
you give
It's
me
not
hints?
Challengers. It's not Challengers.
Yeah. I knew it wasn't Challengers because I feel like I looked that up afterwards. Okay, it's
Challengers not
probably
on.
not. It's probably not Monkey Man. I know there's like a religious movie that's out that is in a lot of theaters. Forget the name of it. Maybe it's that one. I don't think it's that. Hmm. What else is out there? I don't even know. What is it?
Star Wars Episode One: The Phantom Menace.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, okay. I think I saw that on my AMC app. So can you explain what's going on there?
So I think what's happening right now is because of the whole writer strike and actor strike and everything like that, and pandemic, of course, which already led to a lot of delays. Um, there just aren't that many movies right now. Like box office is struggling. So what they're doing is they're re-releasing a lot of old classics, and I feel old calling those classics now. But Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, the Raimi
Saw that.
trilogy. I think they're releasing the Amazing Spider-Man ones now, and then they're gonna do the um, the Homecoming series after that. So
Cool.
um, yeah, we're seeing a lot of things to try to get people to just go watch, movies in theaters. I didn't know this was happening until after I saw the weekend results. I'm like, whoa, Star Wars, what is this doing here? And kind of missed out. So I think we're going to start seeing those a lot more recently. I think that's why Dune Part 2 came out again, which I watched for like the fourth time in IMAX. So that was great. Actually, you know what? Do you want to talk about the, what's it called?
Dune
The
2?
Dune 2?
Yeah,
What?
let's do it.
But
Yeah, we saw the movie together. Gosh, when did we see it? It's like a month or two ago or so.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just playing my letterbox review. But do you want to kick us off? Like this has to be. I don't know what else is coming out this year, but I assume this might be your number one movie of the year. Like, how are you feeling about this? You saw it so many times.
I think I'm in very, very close agreement with that. Yep. Hard to
Amazing.
do.
Yep.
Like, I think cinematography, story, acting, dude, Timothy Chalamet. I was very shocked, especially in the second half of the movie, to see like him, switch and become so powerful with what he's saying and speaking. Like, I did not know he had it in him. I should have,
Yep.
I watched, he was always that like, sweet, sensitive kind of person in other roles that I've seen. So it kind of became like, oh, is he one dimensional or in any way? But that second half of the movie, he crushed it. He carried that movie near the end.
Yep.
And, just all around. Yeah, I mean, the entire cast, if you want to talk about, the entire cast there too.
Yeah. Timothy did a really good job, and there's a lot of star power in this movie. For me, like the two people really stand out are Austin Butler and Timothy Chalamet. If you want to see some good Zendaya, I would say go see Challengers, honestly. But Austin Butler, like I loved the Harkonnen planet scene, which is like in black and white. We're taking over there. He's like fighting like other Freemen, I think. So like, yeah, that was really cool. There's some really good scenes here. The worm scene is super magical. The scene where they forget what the blue potion is from like the baby worm, which is super interesting.
Yep.
And then like there's like a final battle, which is like pretty solid. So I loved the scenes here and Timothy Chalamet and yeah, I think this is my first Austin Butler movie that like I kind of like really watched probably. So
Oh, you didn't watch Elvis?
I didn't watch Elvis.
Ah, okay.
Did I watch Elvis?
Elvis was good. I liked it.
Okay.
I mean, if you like, music movies, like, these biopic movies like Rocket Man, Elvis, it's not one of the worst ones. I think
Sure.
the worst part of that movie, surprisingly, was Tom Hanks. Like,
Ooh. I
yeah,
heard he had like a weird accent and like, or he just played a weird role.
like the movie's very serious, it feels like,
Okay.
and then all of a sudden you see him come in. He plays it like overly villainously, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
Sure.
very villainously, like to an unrealistic range. So yeah, I mean, music wise, it was great. Cinematography is great. What's his name? Bars Lehman or something like that, the director. He
Mm-hmm.
goes crazy with the stylistic choices. So it's very hit or miss, but I appreciated his vision. So it isn't bad.
Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah, Boz Lehman.
Baz Luhrmann. Yeah.
Boz Lerman. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it called? But in particular with Dune, like it's what, a 3-hour movie, and it just flies
Long
by
movie.
every time I watch it. Like
There you
every
go.
time I went to watch it, I'm never like looking at my clock, like, oh, what time is it? Like, is it over yet? It just keeps you gripped for the entire movie. And then there's just so many different scenes. Like the cinematography is so great that they made like just endless sand look beautiful for
Yeah,
the
it is a
entire
very
movie.
beautiful movie.
Never get bored. And they do have some parts that changes it up a little bit, like the Gady Prime, I think is what it's called, the Harkonnen homeworld with the black and
Oh,
white.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what they said, Denny was said, was that the entire movie was filmed in infrared. That those scenes were filmed in infrared. So
Mm-hmm.
even if they wanted to put color in, they couldn't, and that was like a
Wow.
stylistic choice. Yeah.
Holy
Also,
cow.
the budget for this movie is much less than like other blockbusters you see, and
Yeah, we talked about that at one point. I remember.
yeah, is when you have a vision. Like if you have a vision and you know what you want to film, no reshooting and everything like that. These are the results you'll get, and that's what blockbusters should look into. So yeah, no, all around great
Yeah.
movie. I
What
think
are
it's
some things you noticed like on your third and fourth viewing that maybe people wouldn't notice in the first and second viewing?
ooh I don't know. I think for the
Yeah,
most part I noticed it doesn't really hide many things, I feel like, to be
sure.
honest. But like I'm trying to think now. That's a good question. Uh
We can come back to it next week.
yeah.
Think about it.
I
Yeah,
did watch the
yeah.
original after that. The not the original, but the David Lynch version.
Oh, interesting. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that like? Is that very different, or is there some similarities? Or
Don't watch it. Like, I'm
okay,
kidding.
cool. Yeah, I
No,
wasn't
honestly, if
planning
you
to,
want to watch it
but
one day, go for it. But
yeah,
watch it as like a joke, like kind of thing. He tries, and I think he changes things up in the end of the movie. It doesn't mesh with the rest of the movie at all. It doesn't do what the book did or anything like that, near the end at least. But the effects are very bad, like very, very bad. If you go at one
yeah,
point, look up on YouTube the shields in Dune. Like, you know how they had like that little shield thing that they have? Check out
yeah.
how it looks in the David Lynch version. It's hilarious.
Are they in like a plastic bag or something?
I wish. No,
Yeah, that might have been better. Okay.
that would have been better. Oh man. All right. So I guess we're getting into the spring blockbusters, right? So figured to
And
Dune.
one more thing I'll add about Dune is
Oh yeah.
like one thing I really enjoyed about it. It feels like the bridge between like 60s counterculture in America to Star Wars and like so many other sci-fi fantasy movies. You can see almost like Star Wars being born as you watch this film and Dune 1. So that's one thing I love about this film. It's just like Dune was like kind of the beginning of like sci-fi fantasy. And like all these people who later made sci-fi fantasy, like George Lucas, etc., they all read these books. So it's just cool to see this finally gets fair play or like it's fair treatment on screen. And that's one thing I think about when I watch these films. It's like
Yeah.
this genre is just being born.
Yeah, what was the thing people used to call Dune, like the unfilmable movie, right? Because one,
Yeah,
it's very dense, extremely dense, like the amount of information they try to jam pack you with. Um, that's one thing. The second thing is, yeah, like it was one of the originals, right? So it feels like other movies, it's copying from other movies, but no, this is the thing
it's
that
the
gave inspiration
opposite.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So there's like this movie, like Star Wars is like the biggest influence, right?
Right.
I think even Frank Herbert said that, like, yo, yeah, it was very. He noticed the similarities. Um, and then what's funny was I think there's another movie, not movie, but TV show, Attack on Titan, follows Dune very closely as well. I think we talked about this in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's one thing like huge about it. Oh, one more thing, it made it a lot more accessible from the movies. Um, in
Okay.
the
Yeah.
movies, things go really out there with things, and then you do have to change things up at some point.
That's true. Yeah, it seems like the Dune fans are happy with the movies. I haven't seen much hate. There obviously has been changes, but it seems like people are okay with it. So as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to. There's just
Yeah.
sometimes it just won't work in media. Like I think I don't know if you watch Foundation on Apple TV.
No.
Also one of the
I've heard
original
good things.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like
yeah,
Foundation Dune or like the OG
Yep.
sci-fi fantasy series.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not really a spoiler because you find out in the first episode of the movie, TV show, Jesus Christ. What they did was one of the things they try to show in the book is that, oh, the empire's stagnant, right? The empire that rules the galaxy is kind of stagnant. So how they show it in the books is like they change, but they still keep that same thing. But in the TV show, how they kind of made it work is they have three emperors that are clones of one another, so of different
Oh,
ages. So you'll have Dawn, who's like a kid, and then Day, who's like the main emperor, I guess, and then Dusk, who's like an older version of the emperor. And then they just cycle through one after one dies, they have a new Dawn who's cloned and everything like that. So it's a nice way they did like the stagnation of like the galaxy and stuff like that. So yeah, you
interesting.
just kind of have to sometimes you need to adjust to different mediums.
Sure, gotcha. Okay, that's on Apple TV, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious. I love just thinking about the evolution of how we go from like Lord of the Rings to Star Wars, and Dune kind of like fills like that space in the middle. So it sounds like Foundation does as well. So I think it's really fascinating.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of the originals, like those books that, one thing I'm glad though is that Dune was actually a movie. Like,
Yeah.
Foundation is great when I'm watching it, but to watch the Dune in the big screen, it had to be done in the big screen. And like, I'm
Yeah.
credit to Denny for actually getting this to be made in the big screen, like have that effects, have something successful, and have something that even the fans will enjoy. Like, that's a once in a lifetime, not lifetime, but once in a generation film that you can make where everyone's just happy with it. So yeah.
There you go. That's kind of what it seems like, which is like super reassuring to see. And this movie was supposed to come out last year, got pushed to this year. I'm kind of glad it did because last year was just so crazy stacked. Dune is like, doing a good job for helping out 2024, which is nice.
Well, yeah, one thing I'm actually kind of like annoyed about is like it didn't make $1 billion, but I think that time of every movie, every blockbuster making $1 billion is over after COVID. But I feel like there was a lot more potential in its earnings if they were able to keep it in IMAX for a little bit longer. I think Ghostbusters took over all the IMAX screens and everything like that. And I think the best like barometer for me is like when I look at Lincoln Square, right, and I see Dune. Whenever it's an IMAX, it's almost always sold out. And then literally when Frozen Empire Ghostbusters came out, like it was just empty. Like the seat selection was completely empty. So I think for like these kind of like, I guess the best way to put it is like event films, like that you need to watch on the big screen, they should keep a larger window on IMAX. And I think IMAX is learning from that because they re-released it again on IMAX later. So
yeah, I think the secret's out. I think a lot of directors realize, especially after Oppenheimer last year, which I think made it to $1 billion. Correct me if I'm wrong. Which is like pretty impressive. Like Paul Thomas Anderson's next movie is going to be on IMAX with Leonardo DiCaprio, which is kind of crazy because his last movie was like Licorice Pizza. He's also made There Will Be Blood. You don't really see him as like an IMAX kind of person, but now this is like a way for really good filmmakers to get their stuff on screen. So yeah, that's probably it. I think people saw the success of other movies and had to jump in.
Yep. And the thing is, like, I think streaming has really cut down on the box office market. Like,
Yeah.
rom-coms we just watch at home nowadays, right? Comedies.
Fall Guy didn't do that great.
Fall Guy, yeah. That's like
Yeah.
unless it's an event kind of film, that's when it really becomes successful. Even all these MCU movies, and we're going back to that conversation we had our last week where we talked about how like the MCU needs to do something different to get more people to actually go into theaters and watch it, right? So yeah, I think filming in IMAX, making these large spectacle movies is the way to go, and doing it right. I think doing it right is like one of the biggest things as well.
Speaking of movies that are like better in theaters than probably streaming, should I give my Civil War review now?
Yeah, go for it.
Nice. Yeah. And like, I'll try not to spoil it too much, but I'll kind of explain like the controversies behind it and like why I like it and why you might not. the biggest, I really like this movie, and I want to be advocate for it. I want to go to pitch for it. Here's the biggest thing that you have to know, and depending who you are, you may or may not want to embrace this. You may have already seen this movie and you hated it. It's not actually about a civil war. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, the whole Civil War concept, it's like clickbait by Alex Garland to get you in the theater to watch the movie. They really don't talk about why Texas and California or whoever like allied together. They don't really talk about like American politics, like liberals or conservatives or whatever. It's really about journalists in war situations and photography in war. And as long as you're willing to accept that, it's actually really good. And why is it good? So, like, I think a couple things. One, I think it does a good job of portraying different archetypes in the photography field. Like, when you think of photographers, like, we may just think of people who are like more quiet or just taking photos in the background. But actually, like, war photographers, they're like hardcore thrill junkies. Like, they're like, some people are like, there's different archetypes. Some people are there to like document it. They're super hardcore. Like, they know the history of photography and they're there to document anything that's happening in the world so other people know about it, can judge it. And that's Kirsten Dunst's character. She represents that archetype. But there's also like war photographers who are just thrill junkies. And they're just there because like you're in the war zone. You're not actually like participating in the war, but you have to document it. And that's Wagner Moura, I think is his name. That's kind of his archetype, his friends. There's one like amazing scene in the middle of like the movie where these two cars are like going really fast right next to each other. And as a joke, since these journalists are kind of bored, they jump in between the cars. And this is a super magical moment because it really shows that a lot of them are just there for the thrill. They're not necessarily there for like the super hardcore journalist like aspects or like who's for hardcore like documenting things for posterity aspect of this job. They're as thrill junkies. And yeah, it's like an ensemble cast. You got Kirsten Dunst, you have a younger actress, figure her name, but she's up and coming. A couple other people, but yeah, it does a good job of explaining those archetypes. I think it's an interesting ending, and it's maybe, I think, a good critique against this movie. It's maybe not the most fully baked film, but there's a couple of like half-baked ideas, like the whole Civil War like conceit, or like what is it trying to say about journalists? Is it a positive statement? Is it a negative statement? I think you could interpret it that way, but I'm a big fan, and I thought about it a lot like over the past couple of weeks. Like current events and whatnot. Like every time I saw a photo of like protests happening in New York City, I thought about this movie. And so again, as long as you like understand the Civil War things like clickbait, I think you'll get something out of this.
Yeah, no, honestly, I kind of figured once you saw A24. Like,
sure, that's a good point.
None of their marketing is ever what the actual movie's about. I think Hereditary is a big one where it's like, oh, who is this girl? Why is she, is she haunted? Is she the villain? And I don't want to give any spoilers away, but she's not. Yeah. One big thing. Another one is Alex Garland movies. Men was not what people expected. Very controversial, Annihilation, same thing. Everyone thought it was like, oh, they're going to kick ass, like shoot guns and stuff. It's not that at all. I mean, there are some shooting guns, but not really majority. So Alex Garland, A24, that's all you had to say. Like, I know it's not going to be what it is. So, no, I'm very excited to watch it. I know that a lot of people criticize. They're like, oh, why is he both sidesing this? Like, all the stuff with politics and stuff. But the venue, like you said, like, it doesn't matter what the Civil War is about. Like, Civil War being America didn't mean crap in this movie, right? Like,
yeah, it didn't really.
Country. It was just a placeholder, like, oh, we're going to just do America as this thing. So his message is more about the journalistic side, not really the political side, is what people are.
Yeah, it's more about like what drives these people who are in war zones or in these like crazy situations to go in and get that photo. Like, what is it that drives them? And it really talks to the two characters who like want to get the final shot or the final interview with the president. And the other people who are there to get more of like the war footage, and so it really explores different motivations for journalists in a war zone.
Nice, sweet, yeah. I guess one more. I need to watch it. I've been meaning to watch it. It's just been lazy, honestly.
Yeah, no worries.
Really want to.
Yeah. My
Uh,
understanding it's been like modestly successful at the box office, but like I think in context for what it is, it's like doing pretty good. So
yeah, I mean, it is. I think it's A24's like most highest budget movie that they made,
yeah,
like most expensive movie for sure.
yeah, yeah.
But as of last week, it's made close to $100 million.
Okay.
So like rule of thumb, usually with box office like profits and stuff like that, is that you take the production budget and then you do 2.5 times that. And if they make it above that, that's considered a profit. If they don't, then it's usually a loss. Um,
Go.
so yeah, it probably will, like once, once it goes on demand and everything like that, I think it'll be definitely profitable at the end of the day. Uh, let's see. Yeah, 100 million. Not bad. Not bad for, Civil War. And it's only been 4 weeks, so definitely see it keep moving forward. Um, yeah. Next up, Monkey Man.
I was literally about to say that.
All right. Um, I'll let you have your thoughts about that.
No, no, no. You
Okay.
go first. I just
Got it,
Civil
got
War.
it. So I really love this movie.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of expectation about it being like John Wick, and it is. It is like the
They
best
call it
way to
out.
put it. Huh?
They call it out.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
there's one scene where he goes to buy some guns and the dealer's like, "Oh, these are like the John Wick guns." So
Yeah.
it's like self-aware that like it is like John Wick.
Right. And like, it's John Wick meets like Slumdog Millionaire in a way.
Yeah.
Kind of very surface level. Yeah, it was Dev Patel, obviously. But,
Right.
for his directorial debut, he did a great job. You could tell, I think I texted you this, but like you could tell that he's very anti the current government of India. Because it's very, I don't know if you noticed, but it's very, very obvious who they're parodizing
Yeah.
in like the villain and everything like that.
Yep.
The action, the first hour of the action, like, like where it was like doing the close up, I wasn't a huge fan of that, but like not every movie is going to be like John Wick with its like, exact choreography, fight choreography and stuff. Still brutal, still entertaining. His acting was really good. I think the girls acting was also pretty good. I don't know what the actress's name is. But the last 30 minutes made me go from like, I'm enjoying this, but to like, oh wow, this is a great movie. I don't know if you want to give your thoughts about it too.
Yeah. I had actually a slightly different take, but again, I am also a fan. I liked actually the first half of the movie, in part because I visited Mumbai. I'm not sure you've been to that city 2 years ago. And it kind of brought me back. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's an interesting city. Not that I was like in any scenario like depicted in the movie, but like this is like a large metropolitan area. It's changing a lot. And so I was brought back to the city when I watched the movie. Oh, yeah, there's like feral dogs like everywhere. That's like a real life thing. Like if you walk in Mumbai, you'll just see like a dog, splayed out, like taking a nap in the middle of the road. And like I think there's like some scenes where he's like feeding a dog and kind of like takes it in, and I'm like, yeah, that's like based on like actual things that you see in India. So like I kind of like that like local flavor. I love that scene in the beginning where he's stealing the purse from the person who runs the club in order to give it back to her and get a job there.
Yep.
There must have been like 30 people involved. It's like one continuous shot of like that purse switching hands all around Mumbai or a city like Mumbai, and I thought that was like super fascinating. The movie like shifts tone a lot in like the second or like in the middle third of the movie.
Yeah.
He's like recovering, trying to get better. That's still pretty good. I like that scene where like one guy's playing the tabla and he's like punching the bag, and that's like a good like popcorn scene.
Yeah.
I think one critique I've heard of this movie is like the movie probably has changed a lot over the past like year or so of like production. Because it bounced around from Netflix, and then Jordan Peele took it on, and apparently Jordan Peele like helped out Dev Patel to maybe make the movie a little shorter and like just like maybe smooth out some rough edges. So like I feel like you can kind of see that it's like a little bit more like the middle third. But then the last third, he just goes John Wick on everybody.
Yeah.
I will say it's like a little bit weird that like he casts himself as like the hero and like takes down all the bad guys. I thought it was like kind of funny. It's like, like is that self-serving? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, for me, like the first half and like the climax were super dope. And especially for that first half, I think it's like as good as you're going to get for an action movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think one thing I really appreciate, I think you nailed it right there, is that like the environment was it was a character in and of itself, right?
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
Mumbai was properly like represented in that. And I think like, I mean, I've never been to Mumbai, but in Dhaka, like same thing, like, you know, you see a lot
Yeah,
of
it
the
must be so.
similarities. And I love how they brought in like, you know, like the mythology and everything, like, you know,
Yep.
the monkey man and everything like that. That was really cool to see, like how they intertwined that into the story and everything like that. So also the ninjas, and that's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to spoil anything else. The ninjas were great.
Yep, agreed.
No, I think for his directorial debut, it was great. Jordan Peele definitely made the right decision to cut it down, because I don't think there was a single part where I'm like, oh, this feels like overdrawn, like too long. But it
Yeah,
also didn't feel too short. It was like that perfect, like Goldilocks, you know, runtime and everything. So it was
I
good
think
to
so.
see, like short relatively, right? I think it was like 2 hours, 9 minutes or something like that, I want to say. Basically, if I
Yeah,
didn't check my clock, I know it was pretty good. Uh,
that's a good barometer.
yeah. Unfortunately, I think Netflix let this go at a loss,
Yeah,
because not to, you know, tackle controversy or anything like that, but I think it's because they were scared about it being banned in India and everything like that. And I think it was banned. It wasn't really released there.
yeah,
Which is why I was a little disappointed, because I think Bollywood's become very, like, Bollywood's considered this like very liberal, like used to be considered this very liberal, like speak your mind and everything. But now
yeah.
it seems like it's like they're very catering to whatever the government wants them to do. And yeah, it's kind of disappointing to see from Bollywood. And hopefully, you know, more filmmakers of like, you know, South Asian descent and everything, South Asian background, are able to make these popular movies with like, you know, critique on things that maybe the Indian government may not want to be released. So
Yeah, I saw, gosh, I forget the name. The Shah Rukh Khan movie from last year. It's on
a
Netflix.
ton.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like that was definitely a very popular movie. I thought it was good. I thought it was like really violent in the way that like I wasn't expecting. I was
Yeah,
watching with
yeah,
my mom. I was like, oh crap. It's just like mom appropriate.
yeah. Oh yeah. You know what? You're right though. I think that one was actually pretty good. I think it also did have some decent critiques. So maybe I'll take that back. But
No, no, no. But like, yeah, I hear you. I hope like people keep making movies like this and Dev Patel and other South Asian creators like
Mhm.
feel free to speak their minds. Like I think that's what makes good art.
Yep, yep. Yeah, hopefully keeps continuing it. You know what it parallels? It kind of felt like The Northman to me. I don't know if you watched The Northman.
No, no, I haven't.
Oh, that's one of my favorite movies. You should get on that.
Oh, I gotta get on
Yeah.
that.
Also, like A24, I believe that was Ari Aster Northman.
Oh, really? I've heard that movie like a lot of times in like group chats and stuff.
Mhm. Oh no, is it Robert Eggers? My bad.
Robert Eggers.
Yeah,
Yeah, he has a new movie coming out. Oh, The Lighthouse Guy.
yeah. Still, the
Cool.
funniest moment watching a movie was going with Eddie. Shout out Eddie, to go watch
Shout
The
out
Lighthouse when he thought it
Eddie.
was Tenet. He thought it was the new Nolan. He did
That is
not
very
expect
funny.
that.
I actually
All
still haven't
right.
seen The Lighthouse. I just remember Eddie was not the biggest fan. I think because of the expectations were
Yeah, yeah.
kind of
He did
off.
not know what he was going into, so I don't blame him at all. All right. So spring, I think you watched something else, right? Spring blockbuster. What else?
Yeah, I watched I don't know if you call this like a blockbuster. I saw I also saw Bob Marley One Love.
Oh,
I forget we talked about this last episode. Um Stop me if I did. I
mhm.
thought it was like a pretty good movie. I think it's worth watching, if only because I don't really know a lot about Bob Marley's music, but then after this movie, I knew a lot more. So like I think if you're interested in music and just curious like about Bob Marley's life and about his music, I think you gotta watch this. And on Letterboxd, I gave 4 stars out of 5. There are like some scenes where like I actually it's hard to understand what's being said. And like the movie's aware of this. There's one scene where he's talking to a producer in England, and the person in England's like, "Wait, what did he just say?" So maybe it's a good movie to watch like at home with the subtitles on.
Mhm, mhm.
Uh, but yeah, like I thought there's like a really good heart in this movie, and Bob Marley's a really interesting character. He was like one of the successful musicians of his time, so he's like worth knowing about. And yeah, his music is dope. So
Nice, nice.
I would say
Yeah,
go
no,
check it
I
out.
definitely
Yeah.
have to watch. Is it? I know what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna watch all these movies near the end of the year, right before like we do our top 10, and then cram through a lot of them. But no, I definitely
Yeah.
have that on my list as well. I watched one more blockbuster, quote unquote blockbuster, but it was on Prime. It's the Anne Hathaway movie. I don't even know the name.
Oh yeah.
Uh, it was okay. Like, I mean, for rom-coms, I think you could do a lot worse. So it's a good date movie, I would say. Um, the Idea of You is the movie.
Oh, that's just called. Yeah.
Yeah, not terrible. Um, what's it called? Had some good laughs. I think Anne Hathaway kind of carries that movie for the most part, though. Like, if it wasn't for her, I don't think this movie would have worked at the end of the day.
I wish she did more movies. She's like a really fun actress to watch.
Oh yeah, I think what was it? She said that she wasn't getting a lot of roles until Christopher Nolan got her into Dark Knight Rises, and then after that,
Huh.
like it kind of like helped her career a lot. So no, she deserves all the flowers at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, uh, the reason why I watched it, I mean, my wife wanted me to watch it, but I was like, oh, I'm really down because I think the day before I saw uh, her being a huge Arsenal fan cheering, so I was like, oh, gotta support my boy. So both
That's
of them, the two leads
very
were
random
Arsenal
but
fans.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it was really surprising. I was like, whoa, that's a weird worlds collide kind of moment. I did not expect her to be an Arsenal fan. So yeah, I think that's all I got for summer and spring blockbusters, I should say.
Yeah, I have one more. So I saw a A24 film this spring. It's called Love's Like Bleeding. Have you heard of it?
No, no, not at all.
Yeah, so it's a Kristen Stewart movie. Someone from Twilight. She's out there making movies. I think she's also like under 35, but like taking it easy at this point in her career.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah, this is like an A24 film. It's like a thriller. Basically, the story at a high level is about this like town somewhere out west. Kristen Stewart's character helps runs a gym. Someone mysterious like comes in gym one day, but Kristen starts kind of falls in love with her, and so there's like a lesbian romance there. But then this lady that she finds works for her dad. But he doesn't talk to her. She doesn't talk to her dad. But then why doesn't she talk to her dad? You find out later in the film. And the lady is like a weightlifter and like goes into competitions. And it's like a classic like A24 film where there's like a lot of random things happening, and there's like people getting shot, and then there's like violence, and there's like friendship and triumph. The big surprise for me in this movie, which I really liked, was Ed Harris in this movie. And Ed Harris is like one of my favorite actors. You've probably seen him in Westworld. He has just like this amazing, deep filmography. And so I was kind of surprised. Ed Harris is now 72 years old. So like he's getting up there. So like anytime I see him in a movie, like I'm just treasuring it because I just know like I don't know how much longer he's going to be like making movies.
Yep.
But yeah, he does a really good job as like the bad guy in this film. He's like the evil dad. He has like long hair. And yeah, he's doing his thing. He's like eating bugs in this movie. One complaint I have about this movie, it is not for the squeamish, with the violence and like the bugs and like other stuff that's going on in this film. So like I deduct like half a star for that, but it's super well shot. And the people whose opinions I respect on movies really like the director. Her name is Rose Glass. And so I haven't seen other movies by her, but a lot of people say she's like a really good up and coming director. And so yeah, love Light Bleeding. I gave it a thumbs up. I gave it, I think, like a 4.5 stars on Letterboxd.
Oh wow, that's pretty hot. That's good. You know what?
Yeah.
Like I love that like all these people who like child actors who made like these blockbuster movies kind of like stepped away from the spotlight and then started making these like really out there kind of movies. I think one was well obviously her co-star Robert Pattinson with Good Time,
Yeah.
Lighthouse, uh well Batman's popular, but you know, they took a little bit of like a break. Same thing with
Yeah.
Kristen Stewart. Didn't she make that other movie that people were like, "Oh, she did really very well." Personal Shopper. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that
didn't
came out in
see it.
2016. Never mind.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, she's been kind of hanging out. She's
yeah.
very famous because we all know her from Twilight.
Hmm.
But I don't think she's been making like a lot of movies in the last like 5, even 10 years.
Yeah. Daniel Radcliffe was the same way. Kind of stepped away, started doing some
Yeah.
very, very weird movies. I think Horns was really good. So there's rumors about him possibly being the new Wolverine. I don't know if you heard that, saw that.
I did hear that. Yeah, which is like I'm not sure to think about that.
So he would be kind of comic accurate. Short King, like
Yeah, exactly.
he's considered a little bit more like, I think in the comics, Wolverine's considered like a little more short in stature. So
Yep.
so I guess you could see them like, oh, we're doing it in a different way. So if they want to pivot it that way, it's a good way to get, I mean, Hugh Jackman is going to be in Wolverine and Deadpool, so that's another Deadpool and Wolverine. Right? Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, the thing for me, like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
Yeah,
It's almost like Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. Like
yeah,
you're not gonna like put in someone new and tell me like they're Iron Man or they're Wolverine. Like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. So
yeah,
Daniel Radcliffe, much love, obviously, as like a millennial, but like I don't know, he has some big shoes to fill, or maybe you should wait like a couple years for
yeah,
like Hugh Jackman to like recede a little bit.
absolutely. Yeah, I think what was it? I go back to that, like, not to go full circle with our thing. It all comes down to good writing. If they write it
Yeah, yeah,
well,
sure.
like, if they act well, then there you go. Like, it's all about that execution. Like, what was it? Everyone said the same thing about Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen for Professor X and Magneto.
Yeah,
Then James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender came into the picture, and they also were pretty great. And
they're pretty good.
I actually did a very like this. I guess we can go to. You want to go into weekly recommendations? I think we're there, kind of. Or do you have
Yeah,
any,
yeah,
any
yeah.
other
Let's do
movies?
it. The last thing I would say
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
Dev Patel as Bond. What do you think?
Dev
Speaking of
Patel is
casting,
Bond. He could do it. I think he showed he can do it. It's going to be up to Hollywood to decide whether that's profitable or not. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like Monkey Man is almost like an audition tape. It's like, hey, if you guys want to do like a more John Wick style James Bond, Dev Patel could be your man.
Yeah, yeah. Or he like he could just do his own thing, kind of thing.
Right.
He's shown that he's able to. He did
Good point.
what was that really good movie? Lion?
Yeah, I never saw it, but
That was
yeah, I heard
really
good
good.
things.
That was really
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
He definitely has the acting ability, and now he has that, action ability. He's shown that he has that action ability. I think it's really just box office draw, and like whether people are gonna be like, oh no, they hired someone not they hired someone not your typical race for bust up podcast. We're doing it right now. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. I would
It's
love
tough.
it. I would
It's
love it.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like Daniel Craig was such a good Bond. I think that by the end though, it was kind of like him limping towards the end.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. Literally. That's exactly how it did. Spoilers.
Yeah. I kind of wanted Idris Elba to do it, but he's also like getting up there in age. I wish like 10 years ago they did at least like a one-off Idris Elba. But yeah, we'll see. Tom Hardy could be a good choice. Yeah, I don't know. Tom Ellison.
Rumors I heard was the Kick-Ass guy.
Aaron Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it could be.
I liked him in Bullet Train.
Yeah.
Pretty good in Bullet
I'd be
Train.
down with that.
Got the swab for it. Was able to
Right.
speak well. So, yeah. But yeah, now weekly recommendations. Speaking of X-Men,
Yeah.
have you been watching X-Men '97?
No, I haven't. I should though.
Oh, did you watch the cartoon growing up?
A little bit. When I was really small, I did.
Got you. So I loved it growing up as a kid. I tried rewatching it before X-Men '97, and I'm like, oh, this is not as great as I thought it was.
Oh,
Like,
that's so funny.
yeah, like it was pretty good growing up and everything, but it's just not there. But this X-Men '97, this season or this show is incredible. Like, I think this is the best thing Marvel's made since Endgame, I would say. even better than like No Way Home. Oh, I guess that's Sony and Marvel, or Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I loved, as you know.
Wow.
Yeah,
You
it's
rank it above that?
yeah, yeah,
Wow, that's a strong statement.
yep, yep, yep. I know it's very shocking, but because of that, me and my wife, we also started marathoning the old X-Men movies. So it's great. I think the reason why I say like brought up me as a kid, I think they also realized it too. They're like, oh, this X-Men is not as good quality wise, but you know what?
Mm,
We'll make X-Men 97 how we envisioned it when we were kids in terms of quality. And they're
yeah.
doing it very good justice. I think the new episode just came out today, so watch it. Definitely watch it. It's huge recommendation. And you know how I am with animation. I love animation. So they do justice to the original, but they improve it in every single way possible.
This is a super strong recommendation. So
Yeah.
that's on Prime, you said?
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. Okay, cool. Sweet, sweet, sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry, someone just came walked in, but
No worries. Yeah, I'm trying to think what my recommendation is. Um, since we last spoke, I went to Japan, so I can talk a little bit about that, slash
yeah,
what I recommend there. Um, yeah, in terms of like content and movies, one thing I'll say is if you play a lot of video games, like Pokemon or whatever, there's like always scenes of cherry blossoms like floating or like petals floating in the air, or in like, you know, like almost like a floor of like pink cherry petals everywhere. But I didn't realize that's like real life. If you go to Japan and Tokyo, you actually see that happening when the wind blows. Like you'll see cherry petals and blossoms in the air, and
that's cool.
it's just like the video games and movies. So we're all familiar with Japan in ways we don't understand, like just in our heads because we play those video games and watch those movies and saw that anime. So I thought that was super interesting. There's a whole neighborhood in Tokyo that's devoted to anime. So like I'm like not as into that, but if you're into that, especially, you get even more out of like just walking around and seeing little figurines like and different shops set up for different TV shows. Um, Attack on Titan is like not as big a deal, I think, in Japan, maybe because the show ended.
Mm.
But like Studio Ghibli is like really huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think One Piece is like colossal. You see a lot of One Piece up in
Yeah.
Japan. So and Naruto is like has some good representation, and also Godzilla. So it's not anime, but there's some good Godzilla content out there.
Oh,
I think I've probably
awesome.
seen some photos of like the Godzilla shop
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw.
yeah, yeah.
Got like Godzilla trinkets when I was like there and around. So
Nice, nice.
yeah, if you're able to make it out of Japan, you can definitely go see all that stuff.
Which is also, I think, on demand now. Godzilla -1.
Oh,
So,
it is? Oh, wow. Yeah. So that was like, I think both of us top 10 last year.
yeah, yeah. Is that your recommend then? That was a very long-winded way to say.
Yeah, that's a very long way of
Go watch.
saying. And thank you for bringing that up. Go see Godzilla -1.
Oh man. On that note, I don't think I have anything else for today. Do you have anything?
No, man.
All
It's good
right.
talking. It's been a little bit.
It's been a while. We're gonna try this weekly cadence. We're gonna get this to happen. So
Eventually.
eventually, yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to Spotify if you haven't already. Again, we'll add a link on our YouTube page and push it in social media. But yeah, Zahran, until next time.
Until next time. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube as well. Can't forget our video brethren. So yeah. Thanks again for listening.